Hey everybody, welcome back to Exit 45. So we're going to back up a little bit. The last video I put out was an update video on the Thunderbird. And one of the things that I did, I kind of blew through the electrical testing. And I talked to a few people and they felt like it would be pretty good if we could just walk through the processes that we took to get to determine whether it was not working or working. So we're going to do that. My troubleshooting for my wiring starts well in advance of me having the car, fully wired. So as I'm putting the car together, and I'll just use these as an example, before I ever install them, I hook up just the little harness that comes with it, and I'll run power to it, and I'll make sure both of these lights work, for one, because if you're going to troubleshoot and you're going to try and make sure you're getting power and you're trusting that these lights are going to come on, well, you want to make sure they work. So at the same time, I can make sure that this harness works, and then I know when I get ready to actually do all of my electrical troubleshooting that both these lights actually work and this harness is good. So I don't ever have to go back and worry about that. So this is the first thing I do. So before I put anything on the car, I test it and make sure it works. I don't put it on unless it works. And there you go. And now we have brights and we have regular low beams. There you go. So that eliminated a whole lot for us when we get to the day where the car's been wired, it's mostly assembled. And we're not going to actually run through with this. I just wanted to use this as an example. But let me come back here. And if you probably watched my videos where I do the back end and I put these lights and everything in, before I ever installed these lights, I tested them. After they were installed and I had the harnesses all in place, I ran power again and tested them. So I knew these lights worked. So the day that I tested this, and if you watched my last video, in there, the brake lights didn't work. And I knew immediately that it wasn't the harness in the back and it wasn't the brake lights, because I've already tested those. So it was I could eliminate that and I could start testing other places. All right. So just wanted to give you that background. So I think what we're going to do for the purposes of this video and to explain how I go through and do an actual testing of a system on the car is, this is where we start. Make sure we have a schematic that we can look at, because if something isn't working or right, we're going to start to use this to figure out why. Let's say I was going to test the lights. Well, I would just do this. I would put power to the car and I would pull the lights. Okay, and you can see some lights came on. You can see back here, some lights came on. And we know that worked. And if I pulled that and nothing happened, now the fun begins. But in this case, we've already done that and it works. What we're going to do for this video is we're going to test the window power distribution system, i.e. your window switches. Okay, so the first thing we would normally do is I would hit the switches and see if the windows go up and down. Well, as you can see, there are no doors, there are no windows. So for the way we have to test the system then is we need to just check for power. We're not going to be checking for functionality because none of that's installed. But what we do want to make sure is that when we hit the switch here and you come to the door plug here that goes into the door window motor, or motor for the window, that we have our 12 volts here, okay? And that we have it everywhere else we're supposed to, okay? So that's what we're going to do first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into this bundle of wires right here, and we're going to go ahead and determine which one of those should be the wire that's bringing power into the switch assembly, okay? So that's the very first thing we're going to do, is find out if we got 12 volts coming into this cluster of wires for the windows. What we got here is all the wires that go to the switches. This one here is all black, so I feel pretty comfortable that this is going to be where our power comes from, and then distributes power to all four of these via the switch, if you know how the switches are laid out. So these are the switches for each window here, and then this is your, it doesn't work because this thing is garbage, but this is your master switch. It's the lockout, basically what they call it. So you can either have power to these, or you can hit it and not have power to these, so your kids in the back aren't playing with the windows. Pretty much was what that for. So, or if you fart and you want to lock everybody from being able to, you know, roll the windows down, that's your switch right there. Just saying. Anyways, so that's how this works. So that knowing that, I can go underneath here and I can see that the switches that go to the windows are all those red and yellow. The switch that has black wires is the power switch. So that's what tells me that this one here with all black wires is my power, is going to be my power source. All right. Again, I'm just trying to show you guys exactly how this works. So what we've done is we've sent our negative side of the voltmeter all the way to the battery, so that we know we have a good 12 or a good ground. Otherwise, you're chasing, trying to clip it on things and hope you have a ground. And you want to make sure you know you have a good ground. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take the all black wires, and one of these sides, I got two sides of this. One of them should be 12 volts. Not that one. And not that one. So we don't have 12 volts coming to our switches. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go trace this wire backwards to figure out where our 12 volts is coming from and find out why we don't have it. All right, so let's do that. Okay, guys, so we know this is our master lockout switch. So the best thing you can do is when we know we don't have power here, so find that on your wire diagram and then start to work backwards. So what we want to do is trace these wires. And so if I trace, we got wires coming off of this side, and it goes either this way or it comes and it goes this way. And if I trace that all the way out, it's taking me to one of the windows. So we know that's not it. So we take the other side of this plug and we run it this way. It runs, and it's our black wire, so it tells you what color the wire is. And you want to make sure you're staying on the right color wire. And it takes you over to a window regulator safety relay. Okay? Well, you know it's a relay, so there's only so many relays. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch the voltmeter over to ohming, and we're going to see where we have continuity so we can make sure of what component that we need to go to. So if you can't find continuity, so let me show you here. So let's say I'm looking, I think maybe this is my window safety regulator or relay or whatever, okay? Well, I have two ways of trying to figure that out. One, I can ohm out the wire from the switch in the cabin to this and see if I have continuity. But I don't have to do that because I can tell you right away it's not, because there's no black wires coming in here. Now, that's not 100% because somebody could have been in here messing around, and you can have all kinds of weird wire colors. But the easiest way, if you want to eliminate this, would be to pull the connector off and test each one to see if you have continuity from the switch. Okay? And you could do the same with this one here, your horn relay. I mean, I happen to know what that is, but, you know, maybe I don't. Maybe I have to eliminate that from being the relay. Over there, there's a relay right there. We can check that out. So we've got a handful of relays that we can look at and determine whether we think it's that relay or not, and then ohm out the wire and make sure we have, you know, good continuity between the wires. All right, so while I'm ohming out wires, I don't need to have power on them, and it's just safer to disconnect so you don't have power, okay? Just so you know that. And when you ohm, all you're really looking for is that there's a continuity path between one end of the wire to the other, okay? The black wire I've got hooked to the other side to the power wire in the car. So I've got it on ohm, and what I want to do is I'm going to make sure that the wire that in the cab has continuity to the wire going to the relay. Since we don't know which relay, we're going to test these wires and see if they're the correct relay. And I can test this. There you go, the zeros, or I can make it beep, or make it beep. There you go. You hear the beep, you know you have continuity, okay? So that's just a good way to, I always test the system, make sure it beeps, and I know it's good. Okay, so I've pulled the plug off of this relay underneath here just to see if this is the one that we need. And all I have to do is stick it in here, and nothing, I don't hear any beeps, and nothing. Okay, so I've tested all the wires on this particular relay, and that's not the relay that I'm looking for. This isn't the relay you're looking for. So let's try the one up here on the firewall. All right, so this one here actually does have a black wire, okay? So let's see if I can not get tangled. All right, so I'm gonna just touch this black. Ah, there you go. See, we found our relay. And we have continuity from this black wire to the black power wire inside the cab. So we know we have continuity to here. So what we need to do next is test the other side of the relay. I think we're going to go ahead and just test to see if we have 12 volts on that side of the relay. Okay, so let's check that before we go any further, because if we have 12 volts going to the other side of the relay, then we know our relay is bad. All right, so I've switched over from ohms to volts. We've rehooked up the battery. All right, we don't have power there. There it is. We have 12 volts going into the relay. I don't know, it's jumping all over now. There you go. There you go. All right, there you go. So we got 12 volts going into the relay. Okay, so we know power is making its way to the relay. So we don't really need to go to the fuse because it's working. If we didn't have 12 volts here, we would go over underneath the dash, we would check the fuse and make sure we're good there. And if that was good, then we would trace the fuse from there to the battery. We have just checked, and we know that from this fuse to here, we actually have power. Okay? So the next step is, all right, we're going to go to this relay, and we're going to jump from one side to the other, and then we are going to see if we have power inside, okay? So that'll be the next thing we do. All right, so what we're going to do is I've got the two ends of this lead, and I am going to go from one side to the other. So I know I have 12 volts here. I'm going to put 12 volts here and bypass this relay, okay? All right, so we bypassed the relay. Now we go back inside the car, and we're going to see if we have power inside to the switch panel. All right. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm back. I'm still on volts here. I've got this one side going to the ground on the battery, and then the other side of this we'll put to here, and we'll see if we have power. There you go. We have power. Okay, so we have power coming in now. So the next thing we need to do is jump from one side of this to the other to send power to these switches. And then once we do that, we can then test that we have power in each one of these switches. And then if we have power there, then we'll jump the switch to see if we have power out at the door or the back window. All right? Make sense? Okay, so we're jumping from one side to the other. So that is now should be sending power to all of these. The two black and the two red are the sides of the car. So this is driver's side and this is passenger side. So we can keep them separate and know what we're testing. Okay, with that said, the black wire here should be this one right here. And there you go. We now have 12 volts to this plug. Okay. So the next thing that we would want to do is jump this to the red or the yellow wire, and it should send power to those wires respectively. So I need to get another jump and jump those. Okay, so what I'm going to do is hook one side of this lead to the black wire, and then we're going to do the other one to the red wire. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and go black to this gray wire here, which is ground, and I'm going to go to this red wire here, okay, which is the wire that I've chosen to test. So we're going to go right there. We're into the red wire, and then the gray wire is right here, and we're going to go there, and as you can look down at the meter and see that we have our 12 volts. Okay. Then we're going to take this off of here, the red wire, and we're going to put it on the yellow wire. And then I'm going to move this red one up here, and I'm going to test the yellow wire. And there you go. We have 12 volts. Okay. So we know this particular plug that plugs into the motor has 12 volts to it. We also know that the ground is good. Now I'm not going to go through all of them. We got two more to test in the back, but I think you get the picture. So it's not terribly complicated or difficult. These old cars are fairly easy. They either have a switch or a relay, a fuse, circuit breaker, something of those natures, something power in, power out. You're not talking about modern cars that have, 30 pin plugs, and you could have 8 volts at this one, and you need to see if you got 4 volts at this one, and and when the car is a little bit tilted, all these weird crap these new cars have. Old cars are pretty basic and pretty simple. It's just follow the wire. Your wire diagram is your best friend. I hope this helps. I really wanted to, give you guys an idea of how to just basically chase down some wires and get the systems working. I could take another system on here and I would do the exact same thing. We would go through the exact same process to determine whether we can get it going. All right. So if you have any questions, you can throw it in the comments. My email is in the description. I'd be happy to answer them. I am not an expert at this. I just understand the basics enough to be able to make sure that all the systems in the car work. So, but again, I appreciate you guys checking in on this, and I hope it helps. See you on the next one.